Welcome to our community. Today's verdict: Steven Gerrard should remain as Aston Villa manager. Before we proceed, please be kind enough to subscribe and like or even dislike so that we can continue to bring you more videos that interest you. It's very much appreciated, and thank you. Described by players and pundits alike, even managers, Steven Gerrard was considered one of his generation's greatest players. Ronaldinho stated, "For the game he performs, for me, he's one of the greatest." However, that was on the pitch. Being off the pitch as a manager is a different ballgame. But as he turns his hand to management these days, we see that he could be considered to be struggling. However, let's look at how Gerrard got to where he is today as manager of Aston Villa, and whether or not he's the right man at the right time for this huge job at one of England's most historic, prestigious, and yes, successful clubs. And please give us a like, as we mentioned, it really does help us. Thank you. Gerrard has had a glittering career, first-hand experience of playing at the highest level of football. He made his first debut for Liverpool back in 1998 as a late substitute in a Premier League match against Blackburn Rovers. Often being played on the right wing in his short substitute stints, he eventually managed to break into the first team. He himself said, "I was out of position and out of my depth." Nonetheless, Liverpool's coaching staff remained convinced that he would improve. It wasn't until the 2000-2001 season, where Gerrard made 50 appearances in all competitions, that he really started to get going. Scoring 10 goals and winning first major honours, this was a turning point for Gerrard. The FA Cup, Football League Cup and UEFA Cup, scoring in the final of the UEFA Cup. In 2003, after a year as a vice-captain, Gerrard replaced Sami Hyypiä as captain of his boyhood club. The manager at the time was Gerard Houllier, who said he recognised Gerrard's leadership qualities early on, but he had needed time to mature. Everyone is familiar with that great night in Istanbul. Gerrard and company were involved in one of the greatest comebacks you're likely to see in any sport, let alone football. Losing 3-0 at half-time to a great AC Milan, goals from Maldini and a brace from Herman Crespo put Liverpool severely on the back foot. It is strongly reported that on that night it was none other than Stevie G who ignited belief to inspire one of the most remarkable comebacks of all time. Cisse claimed that Rafa Benitez performed a real positive speech, but it was Gerrard who then went on to ask the backroom staff to leave and told the players in no uncertain terms that this was his club, his home club, his city, and he did not want to leave the stadium humiliated like they were being done so. And as we know, the rest was history. All in all, by the end of his career, Gerrard had won countless honours and awards: 2 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, Community Shield, Champions League, UEFA Cup and UEFA Super Cup. And that's just his Liverpool honours, not including any individual honours. So at the end of the day, Gerrard will earn the respect of players simply by what he himself has achieved in the game, which also translates to his own knowledge that can be passed on to players. Steven Gerrard has played under some of the greatest managers in England, a few of which he will probably still be in touch with. He's played under the likes of Houllier, tough love Houllier, ice-cold, emotionless, tactical wizardry of Benitez, maturity and honesty sums up Roy Hodgson, and blind loyalty from Kenny Dalglish, who was a product of the great Liverpool backroom staff. Not forgetting warm man management of Brendan Rodgers. Given this array of quality managers, they are probably the best, at least some of the best, that you could ever hope to be managed, trained, and mentored by. He himself said in 2016, via his autobiography, My Story, he was devoted to analysing and dissecting his former managers' approaches and tactics. What worked and what didn't work, their successes and failures, their weaknesses and their strengths, including the difficult choices and tough decisions they had to make. Upon becoming Rangers manager, his first job in football as a manager, he had to pick his new staff. Some expected him to pick former teammates, such as Jamie Carragher, or even Alonso, to stand beside him in the dugout. However, he shrewdly picked a certain coach, the current QPR manager, Michael Beale. Beale started his coaching career after retiring from football at 21, working at the likes of the Chelsea Academy, Liverpool Academy, and also as an assistant manager at Brazilian side Sao Paulo. It took some convincing, but Gerrard, over a coffee, convinced Beale to join him at Rangers. Beale also said that his grey areas or his weaknesses happen to be Gerrard's strength. Whilst Beale likes to get in the middle of coaching sessions, Steven Gerrard likes to take a step back and see the group as a whole. Gerrard himself honestly admitted when speaking to Robbie Fowler during a podcast, it would take me 15 to 20 years to become as good as Michael Beale as an on-pitch coach, delivering sessions, running the daily basis of a training program. So I let Mickey do all that. He's the expert. It seems that Gerrard is honest and pragmatic. It's been said that Beale himself was the coaching mastermind behind the success at Rangers. However, it could also be argued that the team dynamic as a whole was the reason. Let's not forget, with today's type of modern player, the mentality of a lot of players is such that without coaching, they won't progress. However, they also need mentoring, understanding, and as I've often said, that hand around the shoulder. Let's not underestimate, in today's world of football, personal man management is probably one of the most important things today's manager must have in his locker. The ability to relate and mentor players. Something we believe Gerrard does. Let's look at Rangers under the stewardship of Steven Gerrard. 193 games managed, 125 games won, 64.8% win percentage, and a Scottish title to go with it. But despite winning the Scottish Premiership and ending Celtic's hopes of claiming 10 in a row, there's been a lot of anger at the way the Englishman abandoned the club in favour of Aston Villa. What ended a season on a triumphant high quickly turned to anger after repeatedly claiming himself and his team would remain in charge at Rangers. Gerrard was soon off to Aston Villa. It was eventually Aston Villa that did turn his head and convinced him to take charge after they sacked Dean Smith following a bleak start to the season in 2021. No doubt, The influence of Christian Purslow helped not only to attract Gerrard to Aston Villa, but also, perhaps, gave him confidence in having support at the highest level of the board. So upon arriving at Villa, Gerrard started with a 2-0 home win over Brighton, but by the end of the season they finished 14th, a few places lower than under Villa favourite Dean Smith. However, Gerrard managed to attract some big-name players. Philippe Coutinho was one. As soon as he arrived, he hit the ground running. Gerrard hasn't exactly ripped up any trees with Villa, but unfortunately, his results of recent weeks at the start of this season have not been great. The fans were starting to turn, and boos rained down at the end of some of the games, many expressing concern that he cannot find the right balance with Coutinho and Buendia, both very similar players. After 6 games, they currently sit 17th on 4 points, joint points with Everton. Everton are managed by Frank Lampard, his England counterpart. However, the only difference currently at both grounds is that the Evertonians are still singing for Frank Lampard's name, whilst Gerrard is being booed. That's no means a slight on the Aston Villa fans, who have every right to voice their disdain. Perhaps disdain is the wrong word. Their frustrations, knowing that they have a very, very good team on paper, but Steven Gerrard is unable to gel them together. Most recently, they earned a 1-1 draw with Manchester City. Prior to that game, pundits and fans alike were claiming Gerrard was living on borrowed time. However, we believe here at Football Intelligence that that game could well be the turning point for Gerrard. There was a certain cohesion, a certain unity, and some very solid football being played. This makes us believe that the players are adapting and Gerrard is adapting. He himself has recently admitted he made some mistakes in how he addressed certain players, i.e. Tyrone Mings. If a manager is willing to learn from his mistakes, it can only benefit him, the players, and the clubs. It was obviously a calculated gamble for Villa to appoint Gerrard in the first place, but in our opinion, not a massive gamble. He is a manager with his peak years ahead of him, and as mentioned, willing to hold up his hand for mistakes he's made and to continue learning. He is an eloquent manager. His personality, his interviews, in our opinion, are absolutely perfect. He can do no wrong. But of course, it's all about what happens on the pitch. With kudos and knowledge already in his back pocket from a previous tough job in a hostile environment like the old firm, we believe that with time, Gerrard has the ability to steer the Villa ship in the direction that Aston Villa, one of the greatest clubs in British football, deserves to be in. Whilst being interviewed, Steven Gerrard comes across as being very articulate, but also quite honest. His intelligence in football shines through. However, what he really needs to do is to bring this onto the pitch. As we said, it's a different ball game once he crosses the line into the dugout. So in our opinion, having this great upbringing and environment will stand him in good stead. The only issue is, will he be given enough time to do it? The signs are there, with a very sensible board of an American and an Egyptian who do have deep pockets, but also a genuine love for the club. We hope that he will be given more time. However, the Villa fans, understandably, may start to get impatient. Let's hope the Man City game was the true turning point. How do you feel about Gerrard? Do you feel that he will go on from strength to strength? Or do you feel his time is up? Should he give him more time? Our verdict is Steven Gerrard should remain as Aston Villa manager. Please let us know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. Please give us a like and a subscribe, and we will certainly start to bring you more and more videos for you to enjoy. Thank you.